You opened the door and lit lamps with your eyes, what fire your eyes could rear. And your hands, like a gardener planting a rose, wandered over me, pleasing me, rearing wild rose. And I built up my house with your mind.
I went when I was in Montreal. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I watch it.
I love that long curly hair.
I've been an artist, I suppose, all my life, and always interested in story. So, if you ask me, am I a writer, am I a poet, am I a performer, what am I? Well, sure, all of those things, but those things are like media that I can choose from in creating my art. And really what I'm doing is telling stories. I was raised with two artist parents. My father's a photographer and a musician, and my mother is, among other things, a photocolorist, which is a skill that really no longer exists with the move of technology forward. So at a very young age, I was involved in telling stories through visuals and through sound. My father was very interested in film and movies, and both of my parents were very interested in politics, philosophy, history, and so on. And there was a lot of conversation like that around the home. And they had friends who were very well placed in the arts and in media. So that even though we lived in a very small town in Alberta, these people would drop by and visit, or when we went somewhere, we would visit them at their places in Ontario or wherever. After I finished my education degree at Queen's, I had a small inheritance, so I put on a show. I think it was 4 days at the Grand Theatre. Sort of 2 acts and an intermission, which featured a lot of my writing from the past 30 years or so. As a kind of retrospective, it involved 3 readers, myself and 2 others, and 3 musicians. And when that was over, 2 of the musicians had thought that was so much fun they wanted to continue. We couldn't continue putting on shows like that. I only have so much. So myself and Wes Garland and Tracy Morgan, the 3 of us, formed Poem de Terre. The 2 new books are a novel and a book of poetry. The book of poetry, called On Edge, is a very dark piece collecting a number of poems I've written over the last few years, and it's kind of balanced between longer pieces and short pieces, and it's not about the darkness. That's the thing that's important. People can read it and see it as very dark, but it's really about the journey, about if you're stuck in that darkness, if you can take that journey and get out, there's always light at the other side, and that's what it's about. It's also, the title poem is called Edge, and that's really the core too. There are a lot of people who are stuck out on the edge, meaning they're excluded from society in one way or another. They may be in poverty, they may be homeless, they may be on meds that make them a little weird, or meds that when not there they get a little weird, or they may just look different, and they get very frustrated because they can't get in, they can't break into society in general or to the clique that runs things. And so it's all about being there, stuck outside, peering in, and the courage that it takes for some people who are in that position to fight back and to get through, and if they've fallen into a dark hole, to climb out. my novels are just as dark. The novel this time is A Gathering of Shadows. It's also very dark, but it's also different in that it starts very, very harsh and realistic, kind of like some of the noir novels of the 50s. But then it transitions, it sort of segues into something magical and very dream and vision based. So there's a complete change in the direction the novel is going, although still very dark. The previous things I published are the same way that the other two books that we did earlier. Part of what in my vision, there's a line, and there's where we're sitting right now, the real world, but a lot of us are standing very close to that line where you pass over, and it is a world of visions and dreams, and sometimes in your life you may notice that something strange has happened that over there or to you that you can't explain. And so a lot of my writing is about, again, an edge, about that line between what people consider to be real and that other reality that we have all around us.
I'm going to be co-hosting tonight, me the first half, and Rich in the back of the room is going to launch the novel. This is for the poetry. When Bob first approached me, we've known each other for a number of years. When he first approached me about doing this, I was more than happy to introduce him. And I'm going to do the poetry on Edge. His poetry has appeared in the University of Windsor Review, the Dalhousie Review, Ball State University Forum, the Tower, McMaster University, Alive, Bardic Echoes, Legends, Stimulus Origins, Other Voices, the Lunatic Fringe, Alberta Poetry Yearbook, Pines, the Canadian Tree, and a number of journals and anthologies. He's also released 6 compact discs of spoken word with the musical ensemble Pomme de Terre, and has published 7 volumes of prose fiction and poetry. There is a poetry epigram in the book, Ring the Bells That Can Still Ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. It's Leonard Cohen from Anthem. And I thought, just before I bring him up, I would just read the back of the book. There's some really great poetry in here. I definitely recommend picking one up. Canadian poet Bob MacKenzie lives in a world of sharp contrasts mediated by shades of gray. In this world there exists a fault line between the everyday in which most of us live and the fantastic, a dark place of dream, vision, and possibility where there's danger around every corner. Here exists that dark hole into which some of us sometimes fall, that place from which we fear we may never exit. Here is that place where those who feel unsafe and unprotected, the abused, the battered, the unwanted and used in our world must finally go to hide. Not everyone who reaches this point can see the light that will guide him or her out of, again, to safety. Mackenzie straddles the schism with one foot firmly planted on each side, hanging on to the light and warily anticipating the encroaching dark. His poetry speaks of those who escape to the dark, seeking safety, but who fall in and become lost. It speaks of a dark place where we each fear and of its dangers. But there's optimism in Mackenzie's poetry, which speaks of a light ever present in even the darkest places. To be seen by one who doesn't give up hope, the light that will show the way home. In the very darkness of Bob MacKenzie's poetry, there is always hope to be found. And with that, Bob MacKenzie and the Edge.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay, I'm not going to explain a lot. I'm not sure a lot of explaining is necessary. This is In Passing. I asked her if she remembered me from a long ago time and place, but she said, I didn't recognize you. True, it had been a decade and more, and she said, I've been in Vancouver, and you didn't have the beard, did you? No, I allowed, though I had known her. I thought I knew you, she said, thoughtful, but the face was not the same as then, but the eyes were there, drawing me in, only your eyes. Those eyes drew me back through the mist to some distant pastime. We had been friends, and I remembered, not you, but the eyes deep in the crowd. And she turned to talk to another. To the angels. This prayer of mine is for all the lost children. This is for all the children who have lost their way, who have been left behind, and who have been taken, who got lost in the wilderness and went astray. This is for the child who was taken by strangers and was led forever into some cold, dark night, the child who may have been unaware of dangers, the children left blind and innocent to their plight. This is for the child who is torn between houses but without a real home, a child now a chattel claimed by two parents who are no longer spouses, seeing not a child but a weapon of battle. This is for the children who are torn from their lives and locked in limbo by an unreasoning state which thinks it protects while its intensity drives all its own errors forward until it's too late. This is for all the children who are still in the home but whose hearts and souls have gone from home and have died deep in the dark of the wilderness where they roam until they may never come out the other side. This is for the child inside who has finally died, the abused child and the battered child, the spirit who has built an appalling shell in which to hide, but cries out always and hopes someone will hear it. This prayer of mine is for all the lost children. This is for all the children who have lost their way, who have been left behind, and who have been taken, who got lost in the wilderness and went astray. This is for every child who was ever lost, every child who was ever loved and taken and deprived of that love at such terrible cost. This is for each lost child that we have forsaken. This is a prayer for a special and sad child lost long ago who has begun to find her sight and has begun to see her way out of the wild and find her way homeward through the eternal night. But most of all, this is a prayer of my love for three angels who were overtaken and lost. This is my prayer that all good and all my love may bring home my angels nevermore to be lost. This is St. Joan. In the beginning, you seem void and without form. You only slowly grow clear and material against the brilliant light behind you, not sun, but flood lamp of Lucifer that shows you your way. You become a world of contradictions made flesh to creep slowly over your prey and to take it, betrayed by your venom deep into the darkness, where darkly you pick it apart at your leisure. You are small in your body and small in your mind, with a sweet middle-aged smile and honey voice. You cut your hair short, or it would be in a bun, and you wear drab fashions that imitate a nun. You know you are the savior of little children, absolved in whatever you do by your own faith. You know you are the savior of little children. You know you must destroy all who stand in your way. From your father onward, you know the way men are. From your childhood onward, you know the violence family life does to any child who did to you. You know you are the savior of little children. To save the children, you must crush the families. You must take the children to your bile-filled bosom, where they may suckle of hate and fear and see life in the light of your knowledge, in Lucifer's light. Yours is the greatest agency under heaven, transporting children to its bowels forever. The devil in this world controls what you do as you save the children, and Lucifer lights your way. You do not see the small spot appear on your heart. You do not see it grow larger, void and without form. You do not see yourself falling deep into that pit. Do not see the light of Lucifer falling dark. The monkeys in the wallpaper are oddly silent, slipping among shadows of jungle palms in the night, as we sleep unaware under our canopied beds, and bed becomes forest floor under leafy canopy, and the forest softly creeps into the dusky space. As we sleep unaware under our canopied beds, dream of dawn and bright sunny days soon to arrive, and the forest softly creeps into this dusky space, slipping among shadows of jungle palms in the night. The monkeys in the wallpaper are oddly silent. Oh, we're filled with anger tonight. Oh well. This is called No Hands. Who needs you? Who needs you? When I was a young boy, I rode with no hands for your love. I rode around the world. You were never there. Damn you, damn you, damn you, damn you. I never needed you, never needed love. Damn you, damn you, damn you. I never needed you. I did all right on my own. I did all right without you. I rode no hands for you. I rode alone. You were not there. There was no love for me from you. I needed love. I kept my balance. I kept my balance. Riding with no hands through the night, through the night, through the dark you left me in. Where were you when I needed you? Where were you when I needed you? Riding with no hands through the darkest night. Where were you when I needed you? Riding with no hands through the darkest night. Where were you? Where were you? Where were you when I needed you? No hands, no hands, no hands, no hands. Riding with no hands, riding with no hands. Where did your love go? Where did your love go? No love, no love, no love, no love. Bicycle riding, bicycle riding. I don't need you, I don't need you. Look, Ma, no hands. Now, in the silent half-light before dawn, she sits quietly waiting for something, unaware of what she expects to come, as dawn's mist obscures the beasts in the dark. The soft turquoise of her nightie wraps her, but doesn't stop the chill mists of the night, cold fingers of the dead touching her skin with soft caresses, calling her to come. Still in the silent half-light before dawn, she sits and feels a shiver take her over, and she can't tell if it's from chill or fear. Around her, she senses the night dying. This is great calisthenics. The girl. The voices are there hidden in the night, where the girl can hear their every word, hidden behind corners and whispering secrets along the street and in the trees. She shivers in the darkness and moves on, knowing the shadows follow and whisper not only secrets but darker threats, all in languages only she understands. Somewhere near, an owl's hollow hoot calls her. Her name echoes off the city's hard walls. Cats' wails follow in bitter harmony. The girl only half understands, but fears. The street falls silent, but the girl hears still, shadows whispering darkly toward her, the hush following her every step, she falling into ever deeper dark. Sometimes the girl hears footsteps behind her. She turns to look, but sees only the darkness. She sees the shadows slide along the walls. She shivers in the darkness and moves on. There's no sky behind the ink of night. The moon hides behind a black mask of clouds. Someone has broken the streetlight bulbs. The voices are there, hidden in the night. She shivers in the darkness and moves on. Shadows move slowly along the dark walls. Shadows whisper dark threats only she hears. She shivers and moves on through the darkness. Somewhere far away a siren shrieks out. The siren bounces lightly off the walls. The girl hears only voices that follow. She hears only the whispers in the dark. A faraway siren meets the darkness. The wail underscores a doo-wop song. Owl and cat harmonize with the siren. The girl hears, but only half understands. The girl is alone in the darkest night. The darkest night hides deep inside the girl. There's no escape from the voices' whispers. There's no escape from the creeping dark. Somewhere near, an owl's hollow hoot calls her. An owl in the city. How strange, she thinks. Her name bounces off hard walls into black. Cat's wails follow her name into the dark. The girl hears voices no other can hear. She hears and she understands dark whispers. Threats in the night touch the girl deep within, hide behind corners and whisper to her. The dark grows thicker to smother the girl. Not ink now, the dark becomes living tar. The girl is wrapped in a black tar blanket. From somewhere the girl hears a siren call. The voices are there, hidden in the night. She shivers in the darkness and moves on. Somewhere near, she hears an owl's hollow call. Sometimes the girl hears footsteps behind her. She shivers in the darkness and moves on. There is no sky behind the ink of night. Somewhere far away, a siren calls her. Night's dark blanket scares her only a while. Deep in her heart, she feels new warmth growing. She drowns in night's warm, comforting embrace. Falling into deep sleep, the siren wakes her. Fear releases the girl and blankets the warmth in her heart. It's only the darkness she fears. In the night, there is nobody to save her. There's only the shadows and the song. A scream slices the dark, startling the girl. A scream seems to come from her own body. Nobody hears but her. She turns toward the darkness and moves on. Somewhere in the night, a doo-wop song plays. Dark harmonies draw her into darkness. The dark rhythm carries past some threshold, carries the girl toward dark beyond night. The voices are there, hidden in the night, where the girl can hear their every word, and shivers in darkness and moves on, and knows the shadows follow and whisper. Shadows whisper from deep in dark corners, secrets told on the street and in the trees. Not only secrets, but darker threats told in language only she understands. The girl is alone in the dark, crying. Nobody knows but her. The girl follows a sound through the darkness. From somewhere she hears a doo-wop melody. Dark voices whisper to her through the night. Threats in the night touch the girl deep within. Somewhere far away, a siren shrieks out. Somewhere near, she feels something dark approach. She sees only shadows, hears only the song. Nobody hears, nobody knows but her. She shivers in the darkness and moves on. Shadows follow slowly along dark walls. The girl hears voices no other can hear. She hears and she understands dark whispers. There's no escape from the whispered voices. There's no escape from the creeping dark. The doo-wop music draws the girl deeper. Dark harmonies pull her toward darkness. The girl walks deeper into the darkness. There is no escape from the creeping dark. The voices are there, hidden in the night. The girl hears but cannot escape them, hidden behind corners and whispering secrets through the trees and along the street. The scream echoes louder in the darkness. There is no escape from the creeping dark. There is no escape from screams in the night. The girl has lost her way in the darkness. Shadows move slowly along the dark walls. She shivers in the darkness and moves on. Knows the shadows follow her and whisper dark threats that only she can hear.
Something in the night reaches deep in her. She shivers and walks into the darkness. She drowns in night's warm, comforting embrace. The girl falls into perfect sleep to dream. The sun shines brightly from clear blue skies. Threatening voices and dark shadows hide. The girl is at peace in a perfect day. Far away, a doo-wop song fills the air. And Edge. Edge is more about fighting back. I've been standing in the cold falling rain, hearing the pulse of its heart beat down, seeing the dark images in its shadows like the visions of ancient prophets. And I have seen that I stand in the gutter, between the edges, between worlds apart, between gay and straight, between rich and poor, between capital and commune, between woman and man, between every possible polarity you can dream, looking at those edges not from the other side, but from somewhere between, which is nowhere, and I have disappeared. Don't get me wrong, and don't get it twisted. It may, after all, have been only a dream. It may be I have seen nothing at all, and there was nothing at all to see in the rain. Nothing but a magic shadow show played in a box lit by the sun and moon against silhouettes of rain, around which we phantom figures come and go. The rain falling like knives, slicing the dark to create worlds, then wash them away in a flash, lit by lightning that wakes me with a start. The words of the prophets echo down the centuries, truth grown tired and worn, until the words are only dust, choking off the little breath we gasp to survive the uncertain future we've created for ourselves. And in the words we hear echoing somewhere distant the pulsing of a heartbeat pounding like a hammer, and feel that pulse drawing us out toward the edge. I've lived too long, too near the edge, stood too close to where it happens, seen what I could not have seen, and heard it all, and hear it still in living dreams I cannot escape. There are people living on the edge. It's true. I've seen them there, clinging to the thin line between them and the other side of their reality. Have stood behind them as they clung, hopeless noses pressed to some window, to some place they could not enter. And I've stayed in the shadows, knowing they would not see me there. I have seen the best minds of my generation, and they are the same as those seen long ago. And they are not just America, and they are not destroyed at all, nor drag themselves through black streets, but stand waiting arm in arm to hold firm against that rough beast, its hour come round as it slouches unrelenting through every street, seeking some holy land and preordained birth. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. Many people strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. But what does it matter in the end? What does it matter who is hero and who not, when it may, after all, be only a dream? And there was nothing at all to see but the rain through which we come and go like phantoms, as the rain falls like knives, slicing the dark impulse of winter midnight streetlight rain, creating worlds that wash away in a flash of lightning that wakes us with a start. There are people, cries in the wilderness. There are people, cries in the wilderness. There are people gathered in the streets, flooding the streets of every town and city, cries in the wilderness of gray streets, gathered with pens and with pitchforks, crying for justice all over this land. Men and women standing arm in arm everywhere, warning of danger, crying out a warning. Cries in the wilderness. In the room, the people come and go, talking of what they have seen out there. But they don't go out there, and they don't do anything to stop it. In the dark, in the room, the people watch. In the silence in the room, they listen, and drown awash in flickering images, and drown in the battle's sound and fury across the universe and back again. And still falls the rain like helpless tears. He stands in the shadows of the evening rain, the gentle rain that falls for years. Just a little boy standing in the rain, and rain keeps falling like helpless tears. Still falls the rain with a sound like the pulse of the heart that is chained to the hammer beat, and rain keeps falling like helpless tears. The boy disappears. Still I feel the heartbeat beating underneath everything. The pulse of the heart that is changed to the hammer beat, the pulse of the heart that hammers out love, the pulse of the heart that hammers out danger, the pulse of the heart that hammers out a warning, the pulse of the heart that hammers out hatred. While the rain keeps falling like helpless tears, while the best among us lose all conviction, while the worst grow full of passionate intensity, and the heartbeat pulses between everything. Don't get me wrong, and don't get it twisted. It may, after all, have been only a dream. It may be I have seen nothing at all, and there was nothing at all to see in the rain. Nothing but a magic shadow show played in a box, lit by the sun and moon against silhouettes of rain, around which we phantom figures come and go. The rain falling like knives, slicing the dark to create worlds and wash them away in a flash lit by lightning that wakes me with a start. I've lived too long, too near the edge, stood too close to where it happens, seen what I should not have seen, and heard it all, and hear it still. In living dreams I cannot escape. The words of the prophets echo down the centuries, truth grown tired and worn until the words are only dust, choking off the little breath we gasp to survive the uncertain future we've created for ourselves. And in the words we hear echoing somewhere distant, the pulsing of a heartbeat pounding like a hammer, and feel that pulse drawing us out toward the edge. Surely some revelation is at hand. Cries in the wilderness between the lines. This is the way the world ends. Cries in the wilderness between the lines. This is the way the world ends. Cries in the wilderness between the lines. This is the way the world ends. And we stand waiting arm in arm to hold firm against that rough beast its hour come around, as it slouches unrelenting through every street, seeking some holy land and preordained birth, and some ancient anarchy is loosed upon the earth. But don't distress yourself with dark imaginings. No doubt the universe is unfolding as it should, and the dark you see is only rain falling. Too long living not on the edge like some, too long living in the gutter flows between the edges, where the shadows flow between the edges, unable to see the dark that consumes their lives. I'm with you in Rockland, he cries out loud, cries from the wilderness with conviction. Is anybody out there? Does anybody hear him? Is Rockland just another dream in the dark? His voice an echo of something that is no more, a cry in the wilderness between the lines. I'm with you in Rockland fades in the distance. His voice disappears. But don't get me wrong, and don't get it twisted. It may after all have been only a dream. It may be that I have seen nothing at all, and there was nothing at all to see in the rain, and I have disappeared. That's the title poem for the book. And I will dance. 2 apartments, 1 woman fed up with everything, 1 woman enjoying her music. In her place upstairs, her music is playing. Her music is playing with a solid beat, like her heart reaching out in mid-afternoon, not loud, but felt in the apartment below. Her music is playing with a solid beat, her pumping heart only just heard through the floor, through the ceiling of the apartment below, where another sits and finds fault with the world. Her music is playing with a solid beat, her heartbeat spreading softly out the window, her heartbeat fading across the neighbors' lawns to pause where the children play in the sunshine. From the place downstairs, anger cries out loudly against the beat of her heart, against the world, and unfair rage against her, unfair and angry, and she will take no more. Her heart is pumping the words. She cries out loud, I will bring over the neighborhood children. I will bring over all the neighborhood children. And I will dance, and I will dance, and I will... Thank you.
I think the second part of the evening is about to begin. My name is Rich, and along with Bruce earlier, I'm helping MC. And so, I'm no literary critic, and I haven't finished the book yet. But so far, it's amazing. I don't know who here has started reading it. Probably no one, eh? But it's great. The chapters are like cliffhanger endings, one by one, and they build up. So far, I don't know what's going to happen, and if I did, I wouldn't ruin it anyway. But Bob, I know from just around town, I guess. We've done some shows together. I love watching his live performances because of the, obviously kind of the laid-back manner of it. Get some musicians, from around the room, goes for it. That's how it is. I love that. It's a good philosophy for life. And so we already had the biography. So we're going to skip that, but I'll quickly read the back here of A Gathering of Shadows. In Windsor, a Canadian border city across the river from Detroit, Michigan, Steve Lansing, a down-and-out freelance journalist, is gradually but inexorably drawn to a story of international crime and conspiracy that seems to have political implications at the highest levels. Yet he is unable to penetrate the tight web of deceit protecting whoever is behind it all. Finding himself drawn ever deeper into a world that seems controlled by fantasy, dreams, and visions, it's not that Steve is stubborn, but that it seems he can find no way out. In time, Steve hooks up with the widow of a murdered cabbie and an honest cop on the city force. But can the three of them find their way out of his dark hole into which they've fallen? So, I believe Bob's going to read a couple excerpts from this book. Enjoy, Bob MacKenzie.
I have created a table. So, a couple of scenes from the novel. At the Pit Hotel, closing time was slow coming. Last call had come and gone, and still the bulk of the denizens, the homosexuals and the lesbians, art and drama students from the university soaking up subculture, undercover cops, and the lone reporter held on to the party atmosphere engendered by the combination of spring and beer. A man stepped from the side door, recognized the pressure of too many beers drunk too soon after one another, and turned to regain the pit's washrooms. Too late. The door was locked. He glanced at the street. It was too open, too visible. He looked some more. There, kitty-cornered to the pit, veiled in dusky shadows, was the entrance alcove to the old Brisling department store. A block-square edifice once thriving, but closed several years back, unlikely to draw the attention of passers-by. Was it deep enough? Was it dark enough? A pressure at his groin told him that it must be. He set off at a fast walk and faded into the dark grotto a quarter block away, deflating at last to comfort before returning to his car. In a similar dark hole across Goya Street from Brisling's entrance, a lone, uniformed figure leaned, whispering to his radio. I don't know, but I might have him. If so, he's sloppier than usual, pissing across the street like nobody sees him. Could be him. How's this sound? About 5'9", 10, could be blonde. Hard to tell from here. Casual slacks, leather sports jacket. How about it? Could be, the radio whispered back in static tones that betrayed no decision on the part of the transmitter. It was the Shadow's turn to whisper. Should I take him? Wait, we have to be sure. There's no simple arrest here. They want him out of the way. For sure. We have to make sure. You still got the car? Yeah, you wait there. I'll wait here. If he comes to the car, we've got him. Follow the pisser when he's done. Right. The uniform had only seconds to wait. Then he stepped from the shadows into the blue street light and followed. The man walked back the way he had come, toward the corner of Pitt and Goyle. And at the corner turned. It looked as though he were walking toward the car. Steve felt better. Urinating had cleared his bladder, and the spring breeze had cleared his head. As he turned the corner by Brisling's, he paused for a moment. There, a quarter block away, was his car, a red and white 56 Ford Custom Line hardtop. True, it was not a Crown Vicky, but it was low and sleek and a car to be proud of. In the mercury blue of the night street, the rust and the dents seemed to disappear, so that the car from this distance could appear almost new. He was proud of his car. He trotted the rest of the way, leapt in and turned the key. The rock-solid muffler roared and the radio burst with American rock and roll from WLLZ. He began to pull away. Behind the red and white Ford, two shadows separated themselves from the night. Two uniforms became hard and fact. One flew from around the corner, yelling to his partner, who materialized from an alcove near the back of the departing car, and fell to one knee on the road. His hands rose to eye level. Steve felt a deafening sound. In his mirror, he saw a balloon burst in slow motion. A million snowflakes of glass floated toward him, drifting to rest the length of the car until, an eternity later, the final fluttered onto the windshield. In a second, he realized that his rear window had vanished, disintegrated. He stopped the car. He got out. He looked up. Had some drunk dropped a bottle from the apartment across the street? He saw nobody. He looked where he had come from. Two men were running toward him. Uniforms. Police. Almost as soon as the car moved into the streetlights, but too late to stop the shot, both policemen saw the begrimed license plates clearly. Ontario. Too late. The car had stopped. The shooter started to stand. Oh, God! His partner had caught up. It's the wrong car. We could have wasted the wrong guy. Shit! The wrong car. I think the bullet ricocheted. He could have been all right. Stay cool. I'll think of something. Just stay cool. But if they start checking on us, I know, just take my lead and I'll back away from it. You're the full constable and I'm probationary. You have to be in charge in case he knows the uniforms. Okay, he looks all right, but we've got to keep him from reporting. Just stay cool. We'll handle it one way or another. Steve stood by the back of the car. The two men in uniform ran up to him. Only when he first spoke did it dawn on Steve that they might not have come to help, that they might indeed be the cause of his present discomfort. Why didn't you stop? What? We called for you to stop. Why didn't you stop? What? You did this? Steve was astounded. You tried to get away, said the second policeman as he moved in close to Steve, standing face to face and less than a foot away. We had no other way to stop you. The other uniform faded into the shadows at the other side of the car. I never saw, never heard. I was driving away. Never heard you if you called. The realization came to him full blown. No other way? You shot at me. You shot my window out. You tried to get away. But why? You're drunk. We had to stop you. Drunk? No way. I was in the pit since 11. I only had 3 beers. That's enough. What? That's enough. 3's enough. That'll put you over the limit. Legal. Besides, you were pissing in public. That's indecent exposure. Fuck, man, you shot at me. What is this? Since when do you kill people for urinating? That's nuts. You shot at me. The policeman took half a step forward. His partner remained in the shadows. Steve stepped back slightly, pointing to the cavity where his car's rear window had once been. As he moved away from the uniform's aura, he could feel his anger rising. A split second later, it burst from his mouth. You blew out my window. Look at it. What are you going to do about that? You shot at me, man. What about this window? What about? The policeman moved forward, hovering again in a threatening manner, so that Steve stopped his tirade. We could find lots of charges to lay. Even if you got off, it would cost you a bundle for lawyers, but The policeman stepped back slightly and his voice shifted from aggression to a conciliatory and friendly tone. Listen, we'll be glad to forget all these charges. Forget this ever happened. After all, everyone makes a mistake sometime. But you shot out my window. What about the... Like I said, everybody makes a mistake. We'll forget about the charges. You forget about the window. The other policeman came closer, materializing from the shadows. Steve saw the emptiness of the street. He saw the two guns, now holstered but still present. He saw the shut-out window. He saw the point. Okay, the two uniforms said nothing. They turned and walked away, fading into the pre-dawn darkness from which they had come. Steve got into his car and turned toward Riverside Drive. A short while later on Chatham Street, a block from the Pit Hotel, and on the other side of the parking garage from the Pit, two police constables slipped quietly into an unmarked dark blue Buick Regal. Each could see the unease in the face of the other, enhanced by the ghoulish blue cast of the Windsor street lights. What if he talks, Frank? What if he decides to report this? That could be real trouble. Don't worry. Hey, we really scared the shit out of him. He'll keep quiet. What we've got to do is get the Yankee. Now, come on, let's report in and call it a night. Yeah, I guess you're right, but still... Listen, don't worry, the guy'll stay cool. No problem. Let's go home. Frank started the car and pulled into Chatham Street. Dawn had still not quite come to Windsor when the blue Buick turned left on Hewlett Avenue and drove quickly away from downtown Windsor and the Detroit River. It is what many people would call an ideal Friday morning. The sky is blue and clear with only a smattering of misty clouds. The sun is high and seems to smile benevolently on all below, unobscured by the haze of pollutants which so often seems to fill the Windsor air. All the city seems to have suddenly come to life in the comfort of 70 degrees blown clear of the usually cloying humidity by a light breeze off the Detroit River. A young mime artist, temporarily out of work, practices his craft in white face and painter's coveralls over black dancer's tights, hoping to be noticed and hired by some creative businessman. From the riverfront to Wyandotte Street and back again, he beguiles adults and children alike with feats of magical sleight of hand and enthralls them with his facial and bodily contortions. Halfway along the mime's route sits the Birdman, a 50-ish gentleman in raggedy clothes with a long artificial flower bobbing from his tattered fedora in unconscious memory of Emmett Kelly. In his hands he has a child's toy, one of those plastic pipes shaped like a thrush, which, when filled partially with water and blown through, warbles with a loud bird-like sound. Beside him is a bowl with enough water to easily last the whole day as he delights passers-by as he fills the street with his pseudo-woodland sounds. The young ladies expose enough fleshly delights among them to thrill each of the young men as they in turn parade the street with flexings of biceps and flashings of teeth and flauntings of hair, everyone showing his or her best to advantage. The street is a happy summer festival leading to and from Dieppe Gardens. The park itself a reprise of that scene, slowed down slightly as strollers stop to watch the river traffic, flowing by or gaze at the Detroit skyline, highlighted by the futuristic towers of the chrome-plated Renaissance Center on the east and the century-old boblo boats, really full-size triple-decker riverboats on the west end, tapering off beyond these landmarks into the distance, and the bridges. Belle Isle in the east connected to Detroit, but not to Canada, and Ambassador in the west, tying the two nations for better or for worse. Today the traffic throngs that bridge in both directions, not only with the lifeblood of commerce, but with thousands of happy families seeking summer pastimes in a foreign land, reveling in nature's generosity. So that's downtown Windsor in the summertime. And this is after the book starts to turn. That's why I can't get published by other people. I just can't do one genre. It is the same story. It's a pleasant spring day with the sunshine flowing from the bright blue sky like liquid gold and wisps of cloud repeating the white beauty of the delicate flowers that seem to abound in the green of the meadow. A lone hawk wheels gracefully above groves of trees that cast their shade at irregular intervals in all directions like havens for travelers who may pass this way. Janice and Steve are walking hand in hand through the meadow, enjoying the pristine beauty that surrounds them. The air is filled with birdsong and floral scent, and their minds are filled with nothing so much as blissful, eternal calm. There's no need to speak because their minds are one with each other, and with this Eden they walk. As they walk, a gentle breeze wafts through the mid-calf deep grass, running, rilling waves as far as the eye can see. All is well with the world, and the world is at peace. At the far edge of the world, at the very rim of the rippling waves of grass and white flowers, in the most distant of the shading shibboleths of trees, one of the shadows moves with the breeze-blown swaying of the boughs, seems almost to move of its own will, to grow and to rise wraith-like from the horizon. In the silence of the spring day, Steve raises his hand palm upward as he glances at Janice, and a droplet of water appears as miraculously as the dew. They both know the rain will start soon, so they start toward the nearest of the wooded groves, seeking shelter. It begins as a light shower, cool and refreshing to the strolling couple as they head for the protection of spreading deciduous branches. There's a primeval wonder at the changeability of the heavens, filling their minds in the infrequent drops slipped to earth. In the distance, at the horizon and even beyond, there grows a seeming meadow of gray, misty wraiths rising into the darkening sky as the rain intensifies. With still a distance to walk before they will reach the trees ahead, Steve and Janice each notice the suddenness of the shift in the environment. What had been a caressing breeze now blows and billows, swirls and whirls like some destructive mountebank dancing shaman to the rain. And the rain that was a trickle has now grown to deluge proportions, soaking, smothering everything everywhere, and bedded by the remnant heat of the sun, turning everywhere into obscuring mists rising from the earth. In the distance, through the haze, Janice can see the dark shadows that have moved from under the shading trees, have filled the sky as rain clouds, and are now an army of hominid forms marching from all directions towards Steve and her. As they hurry toward their sheltering grove, she can see that it too has become a mass of groping, menacing forms. There is nowhere to turn. Turning, she sees that Steve is still surging forward, seeing nothing, a blind man in a momentum of remembered sight. She must act as guide, but where can she lead? There is nowhere to go, and on every hand the black forms move ever nearer. She must do something. Taking her Tiresias by the hand, she turns toward what she assumes must be the east, and begins to walk, hoping the wind will blow the rain toward the west, although she does not know why she thinks it will. They walk a watery vision of hell until the minion wraiths are near enough to reach and touch, grasp and grove and grab. At the very instant these living wisps are about to envelop Janice and her charge, the rainbow appears just ahead, slicing through the mists, parting the watery domains in a stroke to allow the two pilgrims to pass through. Janice leads on between the walls of shadows toward the waiting rainbow. As they reach the radiant, curved column of light, it seems to Janice a solid edifice etched with stair-like grips leading heavenward. Seeing nowhere else to lead her unsighted charge, she grabs one of the recessions, placing Steve's hand in another. They begin to climb toward the sky, still unseen behind the mass black of the destructive nimbus. Almost as though they've never been anywhere else, Janice and Steve are above the storm, above the clouds, standing on the edge of the rainbow, which has now become a bridge, each end rooted in the mist below. Steve points downward, his sight apparently restored, at the now desolated meadow they have left behind. She follows his direction and sees a man where they have once stood. He is afraid. The misty forms engulf him. He is drowning in their watery gas. He disappears in a profusion of brightly colored bubbles that gradually turn from rainbow hues to blue and then fade to nothingness. She does not know what Steve is thinking. He is frozen in position, his right hand still pointing downward over the bridge. She senses more than sees that they are joined on this rainbow bridge by others, unidentifiable forms, white and misty against the gentle blue of the sky. In their presence she now feels at ease. Below, through occasional breaks in the black cover of cloud, she can see people, too distant to be recognized, each alone in a small and shrinking circle of metal, surrounded by menacing moving mists. She is horrified at the thought that she can see, but she cannot help. She feels trapped in the glass globe of the sunlit sky, clear in her vision, but unable to reach out to others, drowning for want of that vision. The white mists around her give her the assurance that she has at least been able to lend her sight to one person when his need was greatest, and that is perhaps all she can ask. As she looks down again, the world below vanishes, destroyed in a clamor of clanging bells and shrieking sirens. Janice is awake, shivering in her sunlit bed. Just because Steve is the reporter that you read about, and he's been messing with these two bad cops who are much more than that. And he just happened to be pulled away from his place just before his apartment blew up, and they don't know for sure who did it, so he's staying at Janice's place. It has been 3 days since the explosion. Janice Bergeron has taken the time off work. She has not left her townhouse since Steve came that early morning and told her what had happened. Steve and Janice have been waiting. All the lights are out except the one beside the bed. It's 2 a.m. Steve, I'm here. Do you hear something outside? Only the wind. I'm cold. They lay in silence, waiting for sleep that does not want to come. They move closer to each other in the night. There! Do you hear it? I'll take a look. Steve, don't go. I heard it too. Downstairs. I'll just check. Don't, please. It's probably nothing. I'll be careful. I'll be right back. Wait. I'll come with you. Janice is with Steve as he walks slowly, quietly down the stairs and turns the corner to enter the living room. The only sounds now are the slight whisper of wind and an occasional night bird calling. Softly, Janice touches Steve's shoulder. Without a word, they stop. The patio door stands open, slid nearly all the way, the breeze playing with the sheer drapes that dance gently in and out of the room. It is peaceful, not a sound now within the house. Janice eases past Steve as though to slip the door closed. Steve? She's through the doorway, into the yard beyond. Steve follows her into the darkness.
Door